Hello, this is the Issues of Life. My name is Ted, and today I want to look at a story here out of Luke 21:1, and it's uh, it's Jesus, and he's at the temple and he's observing people give. So let me just read here what it says. It says, "Looking up, he saw the rich people putting their gifts into the treasury. And he saw a poor widow putting in two small copper coins. He said, 'Truly I say to you, this poor widow has put in proportionately more than all of them. For they all put in gifts from their abundance, but she, out of her poverty, put in all she had to live on.'" So, as I was reading through that the other day and just meditating on that, I found it interesting a couple of different things. First of all, we need to keep in mind that Jesus was here. Even though he was a man, the Bible says he was 100% the reflection of God's, the Father's character. And it's because he even said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. So, and he also said, I only do what I see the Father doing. So keep that in mind. And what I find interesting is that Jesus was very interested in the way that people give. And, you know, not, I don't think in a way that some people might imagine, and myself included, maybe years ago, would have imagined this picture of a kind of a judgmental Jesus. But I don't think that's the case here, because I've learned over the years that God, the Father, is a loving, gracious, merciful, joyful, patient God. That's his character. And that was the character of Jesus and how he treated people as well when he was on the earth, with exception of the religious people who were so arrogant and self-righteous that they were the only ones that he really was calling out, calling them vipers and serpents, because they were so hypocritical that they put additional burdens. Let me just put it that way. They misrepresented God totally and completely, God's character and everything. And so, but Jesus came to, excuse me, to fully reflect God's character, being love, acceptance, mercy, grace, patience, all those things. So I believe that when he was observing the people giving, it wasn't that he was looking at, obviously, he wasn't concerned with how much are people giving. His concern was what heart, what attitude are people giving with the intention of using that as a teaching moment for his disciples. And so it was with that heart and concern that he says to them, as a teaching moment, he says, look, the widow, she gave everything that she had. Her heart was in it. She recognized that this was so important. She recognized that God was so important, and it was a way of worshiping and recognizing God through her giving. On the other hand, he says, the rich people gave out of their abundance. So one of the ways that hit me was when I looked at that, out of their abundance. When you're so wealthy, and in my life, I can look back at times where I was living in more abundance, times that I lived in lack, to be honest with you. But it's a lot easier when you have an abundance that you don't need to be, you don't even need to think about it. If you have $1 million sitting in a bank account, I think to pull out $100 and spend it on something or give it on something doesn't take a lot of thought to do that. Whereas if that's the last dime that you have, and you're so poor that you don't know how you're going to put food on the table, but you go to church and they pass around the bucket, or however they do it these days at your church, then you have to really think about it, and you have to really prioritize what's important, and then you decide, I'm gonna give anyways. Now, what the Bible says about that, and I'll finish with this, is that where your treasure is, there your heart is also. And I think that's a reflection of kind of what Jesus was pointing out here. In a loving, graceful, merciful way, just teaching it's easier for a person that has a lot of abundance to give. So search your heart and worship God and recognize God as the source of all that you have and all that you are. This is the Issues of Life.